Hello and welcome to another episode of the Spotlight Games podcast. I'm your host Patrick. Joining me, as always, my sweet dumpster boy with that sweet grin on his face. Cayman, how are you, sir?
Man, Patrick, I'm just fucking. I literally sprinted into this recording. Sprinted into this recording.
That's why you look so slim right now. You just lost like 15 pounds.
I
in that run.
probably did just in stress alone to get here in time
Mm.
to present myself.
You're a consummate professional. I've said it before. I'll say it again. You bring nothing but the best here, and I appreciate you for it.
I don't know if professional or the best of anything is accurate for my standing within this show. Let's be honest, Patrick. You are 100% the backbone. I am just a flabby flesh that surrounds it.
Well, the good news is flabby flesh is important this day and age.
I suppose that's possibly fair.
For some reason, let's try this again, Mike. Say something for me.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Here we are. No, I could hear you, but my phone headphone, like my phone stole my headphones from me.
Yeah, that happens all the time. It's just a fucking.
It's a fucking. I tell you what, Cayman, you might have noticed at the very beginning, when I introduced this episode, I didn't give us a number as I often do. I often say, "Welcome to episode, 12." This was, years ago at this point, episode 12, not years, but
it feels like it. It feels like we've been doing this forever.
It surely does feel like it. But the reason I didn't give us a number is because we're unofficially calling this episode 68.5. Last week being episode 68. And the reason being, you might laugh, you might say, Patrick, what's the point? A number is just a concept. Next week, as of recording, exactly a week from today, on the 14th of February, will be Valentine's Day.
It's true.
And episode 69. And the synergy just felt too good. I got some ideas on what episode 69 can be all about, but it felt like maybe we would be robbing our community of a glorious moment to be able to have episode 69 on Valentine's Day itself.
True.
Agree or disagree?
I 1000% agree. I don't think there's any question about it, to be honest.
Fantastic. Maybe episode 69 will just be a live look at Cayman and I 69ing, and we'll never be allowed on Twitch ever again. You're going to have to come next week live to find out, folks.
I mean, wouldn't be the first time we've done some weird public sexual act that we've got banned from certain locations from. So
that's true.
Why not turn down the opportunity today?
Sequoia High School 2009. You had to be there.
You had to be there.
You had to be there. Liz in the chat. Hey, Liz. How you doing? I think that I know of, at least, this is the first time you've chatted on Spotlight Games. So I hope that I didn't just scare you from coming back ever again. But hey, sex sells. So I've been told. Cayman, we have an exciting show today. We got some fun stuff to talk about. We're going to create the definitive top 10 Nintendo Switch game list together on the fly. We've had no prep for this. This is an idea I thought of literally 7 minutes ago. And so we're going to get to it. But before we get to any of that, we got some housekeeping, because this is the Spotlight Games podcast, where each week we talk about the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod, or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time, like we are right now, on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so you're notified when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. Cayman, it's Tuesday as of recording.
It's true.
And that means two things. It means three things. One of them being that we're recording here live, which we've already covered. The second thing being, we got a new episode of Spotlight TV up on podcast services talking about episode 4 of The Last of Us. But arguably the most important thing is that we got a new episode of Save Trash Cinema talking about sorority babes in the slime ball boulderama. Tell the folks at home about that raunch.
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. I feel like we're careening towards a moment where we're going to have an episode that's just going to be the cancel us episode. And we're getting one step closer with this week. I legitimately, so of course, I listen back to it to edit it to make sure that the episode sounds good and to make sure that there's no glaring issues and then clean up any audio and clean up any dead air and all that good stuff, right? That is the worst part of recording any podcast. I think that just should be known, right?
Sure.
Is the work that goes in after recording. Recording is so much fun.
Yes.
It's the editing that's just miserable because you just have to sit there and you just got to just suffer through it. This was one of the first times I was actually excited, Patrick, to actually edit the episode.
Sure.
And then I always listen to it one more time once it's completely edited, once it's released, just to make sure if there's things that we can fix, things that we can adjust, things that we can do better, with the next episode. I think that's very crucial to putting out the best product you can. There was a moment, and I don't want to spoil it for you, but there was a moment probably within the first 20 minutes of this episode. I'm driving to work, sipping on my OJ, right? I love a good OJ in the morning.
You got to get your vitamin C, plain and simple.
I literally squirted orange juice out of my nose. I was laughing so hard. And this is not like me tooting my own horn because I'm not the one who's funny on this episode.
You're squirting your own horn.
There's a lot of squirting on this episode, apparently. Oh, God, that just tells you right out. But I legitimately can say I do think that this potentially is the funniest episode we've ever recorded. It is also the nastiest, most raunchy. I could not begin to explain to you how profane, how disgusting, how did this episode get made? I don't even know. I legitimately couldn't tell you, but what I can tell you is it's live right now.
Boom.
And if you go and listen to it, it's on all of your favorite streaming services. Audible, it's on Amazon Music. You can just hit up, you say, hey, Alexa, guess what? Hey, Alexa, play Save Trash Cinema. It'll fucking play the episode. Spotify, Apple, literally wherever you want to fucking listen to it, it's there, okay? Because you want to. Because you want to know why it's as bad as I'm saying it is. And trust me, when you're done with this episode, you will not only agree, but you will be hooked for life. I think this is the episode that hooks people for life.
There you go. Mouth of the South, Liz McLean, guest appearance on there. Because there was only one person that we could bring to talk about sorority babes in the slime ball Bowl-orama.
She has solidified her place in STC history with this episode. Yep. And I have an idea for an upcoming episode that I think we might have an episode coming up that could potentially tip the scale to having this podcast banned forever.
Okay. Fantastic.
So, here's the thing. If we go out, let's go out on top. Just like there you Sergei Hiznich, who was the only writing credit he's ever gotten. Guess what? We're going to do it again.
Boom.
We're going to do it again.
Boom shakalaka. So yeah, go over to your podcast app, subscribe, Save Trash Cinema if you're interested in the sorority babes. I mean, and we didn't even mention Linnea Quigley.
Oh yeah, fuck. That'll tell you just how wild this episode is.
Exactly.
The goddess herself, Linnea Quigley, is in this episode.
Cayman, I think it's time to get on with the show. I think it's time to start this episode how we start every episode of the Spotlight Games podcast, which is what we've been playing. Cayman, you've been a busy boy. You've been buzzing around like the busy bee you are.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, have you played much since we last recorded? I pass the mic to you.
Would you be shocked if I said, yes, I absolutely have?
I would be a little shocked.
Oh, right.
Yes, I would be a little shocked.
I was
expecting you to say nope.
This is the only time that I can agree to you that I'm a consummate professional. Is this one particular instance in which I have not only played one game, I've played two.
Wow.
So I want to first talk about Star Wars, Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga.
Yes.
So here's my thing with this. I'll make it brief because I talked about this whenever the last time I played a video game was.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah. This is my thing. I think it is an incredible. It's so much fun playing games with my wife. I just love getting some co-op action. I love sitting down next to her and us playing some games, having a good time. With that being said, this is potentially my least favorite Lego game.
Really?
It doesn't feel like a Lego game to me.
Have you played as Jar Jar Binks?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then there's no hope. If playing as Jar Jar Binks didn't help.
But is there a New Hope? See what I did there? That was
I see. I see. I
that was
believe, if I'm not mistaken, A New Hope is the title of the first ever Star Wars movie. I think was
sure.
the reference.
See
Yeah.
what I did? Yeah, I did that. Yeah, no, I don't know, man. Like this doesn't. Here's the thing. I love Lego games. This just doesn't feel much like a Lego game to me. And I think that's my issue that I'm running into. I've been having a ton of fun playing with my wife, but that's like I think where the fun stops.
Mm,
Like if I played the game solo, I just don't think I would enjoy it because it just doesn't feel like that Lego game that I love so much, right? And I think that's my biggest issue. And not like knocking the game. I think the problem is I'm not as big on puzzle games.
yeah.
And this game really leans much, much, much more heavy into the puzzle aspect than I think previous Lego games.
Sure.
And that's what's throwing me. It is fun playing in co-op mode, but like I don't think I would enjoy it playing it solo. And honestly,
Interesting.
I don't even know if I want to even attempt it. I think I'm just just enjoy it for what it's worth when Sid and I get to sit down together. When we do find some spare time, which recently that's been few and far between, but
So this
you
very
know,
much will not be Solo, a Star Wars story for you.
yeah, bummer.
Bummer. That's
I saw
actually,
what
I'm
you did
kind
there
of,
though.
it's that thing.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's, I'm actually kind of shocked by that, only because of how much I loved the game and played it last year. However, now that I say that, it kind of, in a way, makes sense because I was
Yeah.
never big on the previous ones, and you were. And
Mhm.
this one, I was really into, and you're not. So it's just another example how we don't get along and we don't like the same things.
True. That's true. That's what makes STC so fantastic is, is that the second game I've been playing, Dead Space.
Yes.
I've been playing Dead
Altman be
Space,
praised.
which unfortunately I'm only maybe 2 to 3 hours in. So
Okay.
obviously I'm not super far into it, but I have to say, rolling off the heels of like the last full game I've played, which was like from start to finish, was Callisto Protocol.
Hmm.
God damn it. This game is just leagues better.
Agree or disagree?
Dead
Dead
Space is
Space.
space, but
It's
it's dead.
space,
Yeah,
but it's dead.
that's, I mean, pretty accurate as a synopsis. If you were just to write a one line tagline, that's
Nailed it.
absolutely true. Did you know, Patrick, there is a film called Dead Space, unrelated to the series, because there's Dead Space animated films. You know, there's a live action Dead Space film came out decades before the
I had
game.
no idea.
You know, do you want to take a wild guess on who stars in it?
Rucker Hauer.
Close. Bryan Cranston.
What?
Yep, it's accurate. Sure, look it up.
Good for
No,
him.
dude, fuck. Dead Space is just really fucking good.
It's
Like, I don't
so
really,
good.
I think that's the thing. Like, I don't really know any other way to explain it. Like, look, if you played the original Dead Space, like that game's good too. This game is just really good. Like, it's just a really solidly made, built game.
Yeah.
And it's so crazy to say this, but like, it's so wild to me that this game feels fresh
Hmm.
even though it's a remake of a game from 2008,
Yeah.
which I cannot get my mind around it. But like, I think the only thing I can say is like, if you're a horror fan, or honestly, just like if you're just a fan of good games, Dead Space you should play it,
Yeah,
hands
for
down.
sure.
Yeah.
I will say, so I finished it since we last spoke.
Mhm.
And I'm considering going through New Game Plus, but I've learned that in order to get the platinum trophy, you have to beat it on Nightmare or Impossible, whatever the highest
Impossible
difficulty is.
mode, yeah.
And I don't think this is how it was in the original. They made it to where in Impossible mode, if you die, it drops you to hard mode.
It does, and it
And
erases your
therefore
save.
and therefore you can't, like, so you have to beat the game in Impossible mode and not die.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, respectfully, that's not fun for me.
No,
And
you're right.
I want to 100% this video game because I like it that much. But knowing that I won't ever do that has kind of turned me off from wanting to do New Game Plus, even though there's like new story content in it. There's new enemies in it. Apparently, they have like put in a couple new enemies for the New Game Plus mode. So I don't know. I might go back to it. But I was pretty disappointed when I was looking through the trophies and saw that as a requirement.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like if you remember, like I will say I think that the game is like the original game was like you had one save slot, but the whole thing was you could use that one save slot whenever you wanted, and if you died, you got reverted back to that save slot. when playing an impossible mode.
Okay.
And like the way that they've done it now is like if you get one save slot, but once you die, that gets reverted to hard mode and your save is erased.
And it's like, what?
So yeah, it's I get what you're doing, but like I also am like that kind of sucks, man.
Yeah, and apparently the one I think like they do make a concession on it, which is apparently in impossible mode, the enemies are easier to kill. It's just
Really?
high risk, high reward, essentially. So
Sure,
like
sure.
maybe there is a world in which it could be fun. Because I mean, playing this time, I really only died a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact, I mean, you die once and you're done. You make one mistake. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I've been kind of dabbling on my end. We talked last week or the week before about Hitman 3 released this new mode, Freelancer, which is like a roguelike of the Hitman game.
Mm-hmm.
And big Hitman fan, loved the first game when it came out a little over maybe almost 2 years ago, if not 2 years ago at this point. And I booted it up to try it out, and I played for like an hour, and it seemed like the bones of it are really cool. Like if you've never played a Hitman game or you just never played Hitman 3, it's probably a good time to pick it up because I don't think Freelancer works if you haven't played it lately.
Yeah.
Because it very much relies on you understanding the rules of the world and like how things work. Because it basically, like the structure of it, the bones of it, I think could make for I mean, it almost seems like it would feel like a whole new Hitman game with the way that it works. It just like you choose a randomized set of objectives essentially, and it sends you to various maps within all three of the games because now it's all
Sure.
one big game, which is cool.
Okay.
But within that, and like as you complete objectives, you can unlock new weapons and new like abilities and things like that. But you kind of have to know these maps well, I think, in order for it to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't played the game in 2 years. So like I don't remember where things are. When I played then I did, but so I don't think I'm gonna play much more of it unless I were to like put a few hours into the original game to kind of remember the ropes, which is a bummer because it does seem really cool. Like it seems like what they're doing is pretty dope. But unfortunately don't think it's gonna quite work for me. So instead, what I've been playing, Cayman,
Mm-hmm.
on my Switch
Yes.
is Persona 3 Portable.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Put about
Fuck
an
yeah.
hour into it, and I'm like just on the edge of being hooked. I just right before we started recording got to the point where I'm actually in the first dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. Like, so the first Persona game I played was 4, and then I played 5 a couple years ago when it came out. So it's like this weird. They're not related, they're not connected, but they're kind of like Final Fantasy in that way. But it's weird going from like a middle one to the latest one to then one that came out even before them, because it's you think you can see the kind of original bones of 4 and 5, but it's just so simplified. Like there's not a space to walk around in like when you're in your dorm, because they always take place like with around like a high school setting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a point and click adventure almost when you're not in the dungeon, which I wasn't expecting. But I'm excited. A whole new cast of characters, a whole new a new location. Um, so I will report back. I only have a little bit to say so far, but already got some Persona excitement in the chat. Liz excited about it. Sweet Skeet, hey Nick, yes sir. Persona 5 Royal is my favorite game. Going to play Persona 4 soon. Persona 4 Golden, similar to Tony. He corrects his typo, but I can't bring up both of them. Persona 4 Golden was my favorite. Persona 4 Golden is like my number 3 game of all time. Like it's up there. It's
It's
like
a
right behind the last stuff. It's just
yeah.
so fucking good.
It's an amazing game.
So I'm really excited to get into this one, and see if it can push the envelope like 4 did. Because yeah, I loved 5, but I never played Royal, so I also want to go back and play Royal.
Mm-hmm.
Now either on Switch or on Steam Deck, because I don't want to have to sit at the TV the whole time again. Because that's
Fair.
I've been on record before saying like the reason I loved Persona 4 was because I got to play it on my Vita and take it anywhere. And now that I'm playing Persona 3 on my Switch and not on my PlayStation 5 or 4, I'm excited that I hope we'll be able to kind of get that same fervor about it. But Cayman,
Mm-hmm. So
That's
I'm
it on
over
what we've
here
been
like
playing.
trying to build. I'm over here trying to build out this list because you threw it on me at the last second.
But that's the fun of it, is that we don't know what we're going to say until we get to it. But we have a little more time to stew on it because we got a couple news items to discuss before we get into the topic of the show. These will be some quick hits until we get to the building our definitive top 10 games on Switch. But let's start out with some history, Cayman.
Okay.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla wins a Grammy. And I said it like that because I still said it better than the guy, but I want to present to
It's
you,
bad.
Cayman. Is bad. So we just had the Grammys this past weekend, an award show that respectfully I just don't really care about.
Yeah, who gives a shit?
But like I get it. There are fans, and I love that you get excited about the Grammys.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine, Patrick? Just entertain me for a second.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if during the Grammys they did it like the Game Awards, or like during the Oscars they do it like the Game Awards, where like the commercials you get are like, and here's Beyonce announces her new album during the Grammys, or it's like during the Oscars, it's like, here's the trailer for the new Avengers film. Like,
It'd be great.
honestly, it would be way more fun.
It'd
I'd
be
watch
great
it at that point.
if the Grammys gave me a little sneak peek into Harry Styles' next album, I would watch the Grammys. Otherwise, I don't care.
I just hear Liz McLean out there just like huffing
Screaming.
and puffing. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But so this video, this friends of the show, Katie Nellett, gave me some backstory on who this guy is. Apparently, he's a fucking clown,
A nerd.
But just listen to this. For a historic moment, the first video game to ever win a Grammy, and this is what happens.
And the Grammy goes to Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Like, come on.
I'm sorry. What?
Assassin's.
Play that to me one more time. I need to get it again.
And the Grammy goes to Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Like,
one more time. I still don't believe it. One more time. One more time. Bring it
The
back.
Grammy goes to
Assassin's
Creed
Valhalla.
What a loser. Who is this guy? Why is he on stage? Get him off.
So here's the crazy thing about this.
Sure.
Katie and Elliot informed me that this person over quarantine became famous on like Broadway TikTok, musical theater TikTok. And so this person has a theatrical background, like has spent probably dozens, if not hundreds of hours of his life rehearsing for things. Knows better. Knows that if you don't know how to say something, you fucking rehearse. Guilty Remnant Smoker in the chat. Randy Rainbow sucks. Yeah, I don't know of Randy Rainbow before this, but I can guarantee, like, I'm on the board that Randy Rainbow fucking sucks.
That name sucks. I'm just gonna say it outright.
Yeah.
What about a cool name like Randy Stormcloud? That's a pretty cool name.
I mean, you know what? I'll let you have this one. But it is good. Well, I'm glad I could provide. But again, shout out to
Randy Rainbow.
No, actually, that's not what I'm saying. Shout out to Stephanie Economou, who won the award for this best score soundtrack for video games and other interactive media at the Grammys. I'm sure this will be a well sought after award in the future. But I just thought, let's celebrate Stephanie in this moment because she made history.
Can I just say, Patrick?
Yes.
God of War Ragnarok had a way better soundtrack than Valhalla.
I agree.
Sorry, Valhalla.
Valhalla. It's funny when you look at the nominees: Aliens, Fireteam Elite, which is actually a pretty good soundtrack.
That's pretty score. Soundtrack, yeah.
Call of Duty Vanguard, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, and Old World. I'm not familiar with Old World, but there are a few on this list I don't know that I would have. But like, it's the Grammys. It's mainstream. Of course, Call of Duty is going to be nominated. But if Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy was within the nomination period, then I would assume God of War Ragnarok is, and fucking Horizon Forbidden West is.
Yeah, like those games all came out. I feel like those games came out a while ago.
Yeah, maybe it's
2021.
Yeah, maybe it's I don't know much about the Grammys, but maybe the window is not doesn't include more recent stuff. Maybe
Get lost.
I don't know.
Get them out of here.
Cayman, we got another piece of news to talk about.
Let's
Nintendo
talk
Switch
about it.
has now become the third best-selling console ever. You might say, Patrick, that sounds boring. It's just numbers. You're right. But I want to use this as an opportunity to talk about the Switch, celebrate its success, because I also think it's interesting that they've now sold, I'm pulling from Sal Romano at Gamatsu, over 122 million units the Nintendo Switch has sold. Is now in third place behind the Nintendo DS at 154 and PlayStation 2 at 155 million units. So it's got some ground to cover, but I also thought it was super interesting that when they announced this at their earnings call this week, they also announced that Pokemon Scarlet and Violet has now sold 20.6 million units and is now the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 best-selling video game ever to release on Switch within 2 months.
Okay, quick question, Patrick.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, the PlayStation Vita sold around 300 billion copies, or billion of the consoles. I don't understand why this is not on the list, and we are celebrating the Vita.
Yeah, I think I think the Vita sold 15 copies, and you and I were 2 of the 15.
Probably fair.
But can you believe fucking Scarlet and Violet in less than 3 months has already sold almost 21 million units, and that game is broke.
That game is the best Pokemon game to be released.
Sure. It just
I'll
don't like when the next Pokemon game comes out, we cannot expect it to be running in any capacity. If that broke ass game sold almost 21 million copies, probably more than like any PlayStation 5 franchise, PlayStation 4 game. Like the Switch numbers are always insane compared to the rest of the games industry.
Yeah.
And it's wild to me. But that being said, so we're at 122 million units. Came in earlier this year. You predicted the Switch 2 is being announced this year. Do you still think so?
Yeah. I'm going to double down on it.
Oh, yeah?
I think I'm going to double down on it.
You think it is going to be announced tomorrow at the Direct? Is that how you're doubling down?
I mean, I don't think it'll be announced then, but like, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they announce it.
Sure.
I mean, look, I think the thing is like we have to be, regardless of how well the Switch is selling, Nintendo knows the limitations on what the Switch can do.
Sure.
So there's obviously something in the works right now. They've already got something in production, like not in production, but they've got something working up.
Yeah.
And like, what a better time to announce the Switch 2 than to announce it on the eve, or not the eve, but like
the eve of episode 69 of the Spotlight Games podcast.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I do think like what a better time to announce like, hey, you can get your hands on a new version of the Nintendo Switch. Whatever they want to call it or whatever. Like right now, like not that you can get your hands on it right now, but it is in the works. Like this is a perfect time to announce like the number 3 best-selling console of all time. There's a reason why it's number 3 on the list. And guess what? We're making one that's even better. Like that's like a perfect time to like really announce that. Like double down on your success. I don't like, and that's the thing is like the one thing that stops me from being like, okay, maybe not, is the fact that Pokemon sold so well. But I do know that Nintendo looks at this and is like, okay, we're coming towards the end of the life cycle now.
Yeah.
Like there's only so much we can do. And, you know, I think the thing is like, yes, success is great, but like there's always what's next. And like everyone, regardless of how well you're doing, you're still looking for what's going to be the next big thing. And like, how can we make things better? How can we keep things moving forward? Like they're not going to just rest on the laurels of the Switch.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, it's going to happen.
Look at the DS. I mean, I think the DS is the perfect example. Like the DS had a nice lifespan, but then they were like, hey, guess what? We have a better version. It's the 3DS.
Remember when 3D was the thing? When 3D was the moment?
I mean, I distinctly remember every single movie coming out in 3D, and it was really shitty because I had to wear glass. I'm not wearing glasses at the moment because I don't need them right now. I can see well enough, but guess what? I wear glasses, right? And then you put those 3D, and I had to put the 3D glasses on top because I can't wear contacts because my eyes dry out too quickly and they're really annoying. Also, they're expensive.
Sure.
And like I was just like, fuck it, I'll just wear glasses. But then I had to put these glasses on top of my glasses, and I was just looking like a fucking idiot. And like, I'm glad we did away with the period of 3D shit. And then now James Cameron's like, oh, guess what? Movies are now going to be in 7D. I'm like, what are the 7 dimensions, James Cameron? And he just farts in a glass and hands it to you, and he's like, I'm James Cameron, eat it. And you're like, I hate you, James Cameron.
Here's the thing. If I think most people would. James Cameron has that much power. Old Jim.
Can you?
Anyway.
I'm just waiting for James Cameron to run for president, and then he just wins because everything sucks.
I mean, it's possible. Cayman, to get back on topic, though.
Sorry.
No. Hey, look at me. Don't apologize. My question to you, my second question is, so I don't want to linger too much on the direct because by the time this goes live for podcast listeners, they'll already know what happened. But my question to you is, do you think, because they said it's going to be 40 minutes and it's mostly going to cover games that come out first half of this year, mostly being the key word there. Do you think we get Mario? Is this the time to get new Mario?
So I think my prediction that I made during our prediction episode was that Mario would be announced as the launch title of the Switch 2.
Right. So in order for that to be true, they have to announce the Switch tomorrow as well, is what you're saying.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, I do think like this would be a perfect time for them to announce Mario Kart 9.
Fuck, bring it on, dude.
Because I think my other prediction was Mario Kart 9 would be announced for the Switch, but it would be like you can get it for the Switch now, you can play it, and then we will also get an expanded version for the Switch too.
Yeah.
So I think this is perfect. You can say like, hey, guess what, guys? Mario Kart 9 is coming in, and you say the date. And then closer to launch date, you're like, Mario Kart 9 will also be playable on the Switch too.
And Mario Kart 9 has a story mode in which you play as Dr. Mario, who leaves the field of medicine after a malpractice suit to become a professional race car driver.
Where's Kiki at right now?
I think she's in the chat.
I just
at least she was earlier.
She's salivating at the thought of getting a little bit more.
Can you imagine so many
Mario.
like racing games and like sports games? We're going to be talking about one at the very end of the show. Are introducing like story modes now. Could you imagine story mode Mario Kart? And the exact story I just described. I don't think there's a better story to tell than Dr. Mario leaving the practice because of a malpractice suit.
Who do you think he malpracticed on?
The people, the American people.
They're just like Dr. Mario. It's like starts as like a documentary, right? It's like Dr. Mario ushered in the first wave of fentanyl overdoses in the United States. Like I'd be fully sold, man. I'm fully sold.
Connie in the chat says Peach tried to give her that BBL. Dr. Mario, huge on Brazilian butt lifts. That's guaranteed. I guarantee it. Anyway, next week we'll probably talk about what we see at the direct tomorrow. So if you're watching live, tomorrow 5 p.m. Eastern is when this new direct is coming out. So we'll have all the answers and more next week on Spotlight Games. But Cayman, with all of this discussion about the Switch, and there's just, admittedly a little bit of a light news week. And on the fly, I made the decision that this isn't episode 69. It's episode 68.5 for next week's episode 69 on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
I was like, what if we just together put our heads together and made the definitive top 10 games on Switch, according to us, trademark, sponsored by Spotlight TV, new episodes every Monday night after we finish recording. What do you think about that?
I mean, I don't really think I have much of an option. So
true. Yeah, I do have a gun to your head off screen.
And you don't have a gun to my head. You have a gun to my head.
Oh, you raunchy boy. Here's the thing, Cayman. We got a fun chat today. They're riled up. They're ready to go.
They are.
I think together with the chat, we're going to make a top 10 list.
Let's do this.
So this is what I've done, Cayman. I have my Switch in front of me, and on my computer, I have pulled up the best video games on the Nintendo Switch according to Metacritic. And this is just for ideas. I'm not just going to be like, oh, well, the top 10 games on Metacritic are these, so that's the list. That's not, no. That's just so that we can reference and think of games. But I figure, why don't we start with this? And this is a great time to get the chat involved. Let's just brainstorm. Let's just throw some games out that we think, let's make a short list, maybe like 15 to 20 games, and then pare it down based on that. How does that sound?
Sounds wonderful.
Let's just start. Obviously, I think yes, Connie, spot on. Breath of the Wild, no contest. Like it's in there.
Mhm.
At the very least, short
Sure.
list.
Absolutely.
I think Mario Odyssey as well.
100%.
Liz, great call. Stardew Valley.
My
I think
wife has put like 1,000 hours into Stardew Valley on the Switch.
with our wives' powers combined, that 25,000 hours probably in
Easy.
Stardew Valley. Yeah, Rose is playing it on a new console at this point. That's how much she loves that game. Yeah,
Tony?
it's Tony Hades. Yes,
Hades
100%.
Tony. Hades Tony.
Animal Crossing: New Horizons, I think, is one to consider.
I think Tina needs to take a deep breath. It's a top 10 game. Okay.
I agree. Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. It's top 10 game.
I like Animal Crossing, but I don't know if it's top 10. I think it is. I think we can lock in New Horizons for sure. Man, dude, can we just really quick sidebar, because Connie was a big part of this, as she says here. Got me through some dark. Like when that game came out, from March to like May of 2020, what a fucking moment Animal Crossing New Horizons was. We've probably talked about it on the show before, but yeah, I in the chat, it's Rose right now on her phone, logged in as me probably. Animal Crossing, literally, like that was, it was magic. Like getting together our parties like 10 people and just going to each other's islands, and it was fucking incredible. So that is definitely in the top 10. I think we already said Hades. I think here's where a tricky one for me. Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. Because I'm not a Smash guy. I've been on record many times. So like part of me feels like it needs to be included for the culture, but if neither of us really play it and like it, this is the definitive top 10 list. Okay, here we go. We got a voice though. Connie, she loves Smash. So Smash at least can be in the short lists for now, because this is the chat's helping us along here, Cayman. I think Celeste deserves to be on the short list.
I think that's a solid choice. You know, I'm going to throw a curveball. I'm going to say something that no one's going to say.
Curve it.
Bravely Default 2.
Okay.
So played the first Bravely Default on the Nintendo 3DS. Amazing game. Bravely Default 2, honestly, probably better.
How about that? I've not played it, so I don't have much to say. Nick in the chat though agrees.
Thank you, Nick. Finally,
so it's on it's on the short list. Nick also mentions the Wii U Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze was good. I had a complicated relationship with that game. I'll put it on the short list for now. I'm gonna go ahead and spoil it. Probably not gonna be on the top 10. However, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, I think, should be in consideration. Because you like that game too, right?
I agree. And also, I want to point out for Constantina, let's go Eevee. I think it's really important that you pointed that one out, because I do think that was the first moment that like we were as close to like what we thought Pokemon was as a kid, at least for me, maybe, because like I think the big thing is like the ability, because you could get the Pokeball that you could use in the like as a controller, and there was just something really special about like sitting in front of your TV replaying Yellow and then using a Pokeball to catch. Was just something magical about that.
Sure.
I don't know how many people actually played the game like that, but like it's just really, really cool that you could do something like that. And it was like Nintendo was like, all right, all of you mid to late 20-year-olds who grew up playing Pokemon Yellow, and then you just fucking do. Oh man, that shit was great, dude. That shit was great.
Can you remind me Nuzlocke runs? I've heard we got 3 Nuzlocke comments in the chat, especially having fun doing Nuzlocke runs. Connie, Nuzlocke runs, haven't done that since college. Tony, Nuzlocks are the best way to play. Educate me. I forget. I've heard Tony talk about Nuzlocke runs, but I don't remember.
So, okay, someone in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but is Nuzlocke the way that you play the game in which if your Pokemon faints during a battle, you have to abandon or you have to like get rid of your Pokemon? Yep. It is. Okay. Yep. See, I was right. Yep. Yeah.
Interesting.
That's risky business, man. That's like some Fire Emblem shit, which
Tony says you got a nick. See, there you go.
That's true.
Yep,
you
got a nickname. Shit, I might do this. This might get me back into Scarlet and Violet.
No items for the real pro. Tony's a real pro. Pro. No items for the real pros.
Of course.
Tony, absolutely correct.
Of course.
I'm
Handsome
not a
Tony's
real pro though. I like to take it easy.
he's the best of us. I tell you what. Okay, so we got Pokemon Let's Go Eevee. I mean, Scarlet and Violet, you say is the best Pokemon game.
I've got that on, yeah, especially Scarlet and Violet. I think it's the best Pokemon game that we've at least gotten since probably Pokemon Gold.
Sure. What about we haven't mentioned it. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I think.
Of course, yeah,
for
that's
sure.
a no-brainer. Sure.
What about let's get physical. Ring Fit Adventure, baby.
You know, I think that's a. Have you played Ring Fit Adventure?
I actually have. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's actually top 10, but
yeah,
it's pretty
fun.
cool. Yeah,
Sure.
Man, that shit can burn your legs. I tell you.
Oh, for sure. Octopath Traveler. We haven't mentioned that yet.
Oh yeah, no, we haven't. I would put that on the short list. Octopath Traveler, Liz, Hollow Knight. It's funny that you say that. I was actually going to bring up Hollow Knight because it is like one of the most beloved indie games ever, and I've tried to play it so many times, and I'm shocked at why I can never get past like 30 minutes
Because we suck at video games.
Sure, but it seems extremely like my shit. Like I loved Guacamelee and games like that. So I needed to give it another shake because I don't know why I've just never really been able to get into that. Yes, Tony, slay the fucking spire. I love you. I fucking love Slay the Spire so much.
As he mumbles to himself, I love it. I mean, I love Handsome Tony as well. I actually got to spend some time with Handsome Tony today in person. Gotta tell you, just as handsome in real life as he is in the chat.
I tell you what, you know what game we haven't mentioned yet?
What's up?
Luigi's Mansion 3.
Ooh, Luigi's Mansion 3. Good call.
Good
call. And just say, you know what we haven't said? Pokemon Arceus Legends.
Yeah,
which was arguably, I think, probably the maybe one of the first Pokemon games that you actually loved.
Yes, I devoured Pokemon Legends Arceus, and I have a theory that maybe that's the reason why I haven't been able to get as much into Violet and Scarlet because I like over Pokemoned myself earlier or last year, but because I really want to get into it, I just can't yet. Did you ever play the Steam World game, Steam World Dig?
No, I've not.
Man, I fucking love those games. Yeah. I don't think that they're not worth the top 10, but I'm looking at the top 25 on IGN and SteamWorld Dig 2 is on here. I was like, oh yeah, I love those games.
I'm just if you could entertain me for a second.
I would love to.
I know that this might be a contentious opinion. However, Mario Golf is actually really fun. It's really fun. And they actually, because I think people latched onto it because it is a fun game, it actually had legs for a little while. Unlike tennis, and especially unlike Strikers. God, that game.
I did play a lot. I did play a lot of Mario Golf. I'm looking for it on my Switch to see. I forget the subtitle. Mario Golf. I guess maybe I didn't download it on my newer Switch.
Nick.
Super Rush.
I agree with you, Nick. I love tennis as well. Unfortunately, no one else did in that game. It literally just kind of fell out. And that was sad. It's just sad. It's just a sad time.
Ever since Roger Federer retired, I don't support tennis.
Okay, so Constantina asked a great question, Patrick. Do the games have to be made / released by Nintendo?
It's a really good question because as I scroll through the top lists on Metacritic, I'm passing a lot of games that I just adore. Things like What Remains of Edith Finch. Like it's a game that is on the Nintendo, but obviously wasn't made by Nintendo. So this is my thinking on it. I don't think it has to be made by Nintendo, but I think it has to be known as a Switch game.
Either that or it's best played on the Switch. I think that's another good qualifier. Yeah. Because I think something like What Remains of Edith Finch, one, fantastic game, but I do think it's just better as a console. Like it just visually is a great looking game. Like I wouldn't say like Witcher 3 for the Switch. I'm obviously going to take a console version of that, but I do think that that she is correct though. There are like Hades. Little Nightmares is another good one that I don't feel like was hampered by the limitations of the Switch.
I kind of think of Little Nightmares as a Switch game, even though it's a multi-platform game. And like, yeah, like it's tricky. Persona 5 Royal best on Switch. I'm sure it is. It just came out kind of recently on Switch, but like in my brain, it's not a Switch game, even though it's technically on Switch because it originally came out on PlayStation. You know what I mean? So I think it's kind of I don't know that there's like an easy answer. I think it's kind of case by case.
Let me ask you a question, Patrick.
Yes.
Persona 4 Golden is now on Switch.
Yes. I mean, if we're counting that, it's number one.
So the question is which, when you think of that, do you think Persona 4 Golden? Do you think Switch? Do
I
you
think the
think
Vita.
Vita? You just because visually it looks better on the Switch. But that's a
Well, I mean,
that's the game that sold me.
Well,
On a Vita.
maybe we're looking at this list all wrong. Maybe
Maybe
the
we
list
are.
is the 10 best games to play on Switch. If that's the case, Persona 4 Golden's on this list.
Persona 4 Golden's the number one game ever.
Right? Like, so I don't know. I think maybe we decide together, do we want it to be like specific Switch type games, or do we want it just to be best games on Switch? Because I think that'll kind of change the list a little bit.
Do you remember? I had this conversation earlier. I couldn't pinpoint it, but do you remember there was like something right? Where it's like they ask like a robot or something a riddle, and the robot has to guess the riddle, and it can't guess the riddle, and it just fritzes out and just explodes because like it can't process it. Do you know what I'm talking about? I can remember distinctly. There's a part in one of the Dark Tower novels. I want to say it was.
We're talking about books right now?
Yeah, I don't know. It just either way, I feel like having this conversation, I kind of feel like the robot that gets tricked with a riddle, and its range, the gears can't process this conundrum of like, what are we talking about? And then it just finally just explodes. That's how I feel right now.
Well, because I'm back to the first page of the Metacritic list. Number 3, the third highest rated game on the Nintendo Switch is the Portal Companion Collection. So Portals 1 and 2 in a collection. If it's the 10 best games on Switch, that's on this list, but I don't think of that as a Switch game. So I'm kind of going against that ideology now.
Are we thinking that we did not prepare enough for this situation that we've now put ourselves in?
No, I mean, sure, but like that's the fun of it, is that
this is a great conversation.
Yeah, no, this is great. So here, maybe this is what we do.
Okay.
I have an idea. I have a solution, potentially.
Okay.
Let's throw on like Persona 4. Let's take our pants off first and foremost.
Thank you.
Second, let's put on games like Persona 4 Golden, Persona 5 Royal, fucking Portal Companion Collection. And maybe we do, here's the top 10, and then here's honorable mentions.
Okay.
And honorable mentions, we will throw in things like the ones that we don't necessarily say are Switch games, but you can play them on Switch.
Did Dream Daddy Dating Sim ever come to Switch? Because that might be
must have. It must have. I dream about Daddy often, especially now that he's on HBO The Last of Us Sundays at 9.
Fair enough.
Pedro Pascal. Okay. I feel like we got a good list here. Some games we haven't mentioned. The Ori games, Ori and the Blind Forest and the Will of the Wisps.
See, I think when I think of those, I think Xbox.
I do too. Undertale. I know a lot of people play Undertale. Never played it.
You know, that is a game that like I have like it's not downloaded, but I have it in my library to play. Just never did it.
Connie asks, what was the game where there's a man's face on a horse? I don't fucking know, but I need to.
This sounds very similar to something like from the WarioWare games.
Ooh.
But the WarioWare games are also fun. Those are very underrated titles.
Can I really quick aside? I almost, instead of this topic, I almost brought a list from The Gamer that is the 10 video game characters who would fail at pizza delivery. We'll go through that list with you.
Can we do that list soon?
And Wario was on there. Maybe
fair. Look at this shit. Look at this shit. Apparently Horseface Daddy was also a dating game.
Oh my god. We
Constantino, we need you to get this. We need to get you to like, you got to tell us what this is. And then Patrick is just like he did with Peppa Pig. He will play the dating sim.
Correct. Okay.
And maybe one day I'll play Kingdom Hearts. Nick's going to jump in now after I said those words and be like, the best way to play Kingdom Hearts is on the Switch. To my point, which is the best way to play Kingdom Hearts is when you're rotting in hell.
There you go.
Right next to Nancy Reagan. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go listen to any episode of STC.
Boom. Man, now I brought out my Switch with the idea of looking at it. Man, I haven't until now. Fucking Ni no Kuni.
Oh my god.
Playable on the Switch.
Switch?
Yeah, fucking KOTOR on the Switch. That's what I'm saying.
The KOTOR on the Switch was a disaster, right?
It's a mess, actually. Yeah, you're right. Star Wars episode 1 pod racing came in.
Yeah. Oh my
No,
god.
we
Oh
need
my
to stop.
god, Patrick, you have to stop what you're doing right now.
Should
Okay,
I leave
you
the
need
podcast?
to Uma no Prince Sama. I have to have you pull this up right now. I'm gonna put it. You just got to figure out how to get this shit up here. I can.
Uma no Prince Sama.
Yes, the Prince and Sama are hyphenated. UMA no Prince hyphen Sama SAMA.
I got it.
Oh boy, this is okay. This is could be the highlight of everything we've ever done in our entire life. Dude, our audio listeners are not going to have a fucking idea what's about to happen.
No, this portion specifically is definitely
Can we
video.
just say, if you are an audio listener, pull over your car. If you're on the interstate, perfect time to do it. Just whip it over right in the middle of the interstate. Fuck everybody.
What is this? My hero prince, or my horse prince, I mean.
That is the most handsome boy I've ever seen. Also,
look at this. This is fucking demonic.
What is happening, Patrick?
I don't like the implications of this image on Pinterest. This is fan art. Connie, you put us into some dangerous territory, I think.
Connie, I'm just going to tell you right now. Either we're best friends or we're mortal enemies, and I can't tell the difference anymore. But once again, that is a handsome boy horse. It's probably the most handsome boy horse I've ever seen. I got to say. I'll tell you right now.
I'm scared. Now that's on my search history, on my work computer of all things.
Shouldn't record on your work computer.
Shouldn't record on my work computer. That's the cardinal sin. Okay. We have, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. We got like 25 games on this list. So let's do this. Let's do, okay. I have an idea. I'm going to share again. So we're getting a little visual. We're going to be talking through it. We're getting a little behind the scenes here. I'm going to share the doc.
We're going to show them how the sausage is made.
Let's do a little zoom, a little boom, a little
just
enter. I need to get it all.
If you're gonna look, if you're gonna show them the doc, show them all the homoeroticism that we share between each other, please.
Oh, they're not ready. They're simply not ready.
Okay,
that's everything. All right. So I figure what we can do, we can just reflecting on the last 10 minutes of this podcast. Okay, so we have Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Stardew Valley, Hades, Animal Crossing New Horizons, Genshin Impact, Smash, Celeste, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Bravely Default 2, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Octopath Traveler, Hollow Knight, Slay the Spire, Luigi's Mansion 3, Pokemon Legends Arceus, Mario Golf, Super Rush, Little Nightmares, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 5 Royal, and Portal Companion Collection. And I'm realizing, oh no, Scarlet and Violet is there. Okay. So I think maybe we go through, let's just bold the ones that I think are locks.
Okay.
Such as Breath of the Wild, Odyssey, Hades, Animal Crossing.
Sure.
Mario Kart 8.
Of course.
I think those are the only total locks.
Yeah,
agree or disagree?
I think that those 4 definitely are locked in, probably in the top 5, to be completely honest with you.
Probably, yeah. Okay. So, oh, come on,
you can do this, buddy. There you go. He's got this. Don't worry, guys. He's got this.
So now maybe we go through and remove a few.
Okay.
Ones that we don't think will make it. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me.
I think respectfully, Little Nightmares. Probably not a top 10er. Let's just throw it down here at the bottom.
I'm throwing Portal out. I'm sorry. I'm throwing it out. Oh wow. Okay. Command Z.
No, yeah, sometimes my keyboard has a mind of its own, and it's
because there's so much jism in the keyboard, Patrick.
Oh boy.
Look, man, this episode's gone off rails. Who gives a shit?
All right, I guess I gotta fucking type it out again.
I forgot we're not on STC right now. We can't say things like jism.
I mean, we can.
Yeah.
Jism. I think I don't know that Mario Golf Super Rush deserves a top 10 spot, personally.
I agree.
So let's throw this down here. I don't know that Genshin deserves a top 10. Mostly, and here's my reasoning.
Okay.
I don't think either of us have really played a lot of it.
Sure.
And I
Okay.
kind of and this could be a Patrick problem. I don't know that I necessarily think of that as a Switch game.
Fair.
Might be because my brother plays a lot of Genshin on the PlayStation, so I think of it as a PlayStation game.
Mhm.
But agree or disagree?
I agree. I agree. And I also agree with Nick, who says, I can agree with Smash staying because of cultural impact, how hyped everyone would be with new characters. There's always tournaments. Everyone knows it. I think that is 100% and agree for that as well. I think Smash Bros is indeed a lock for one of the top best games.
Okay, I'm going to lock it in at number 10.
Fine with me.
Let's see. What other ones can we knock out? I feel like we got to get rid of at least one Pokemon because there's no way 3 Pokemon are in the top 10 when there's only 4 spots left.
True. I'm gonna say, and I'm sorry, Connie, but I'm gonna go with Pokemon Let's Go Eevee.
Kill it.
If I had to remove it, I think that would be the most recent Pokemon game. We didn't even include Sword and Shield. Like, I definitely think both of those wouldn't be in the top 10. I will say, if we want to add one, I do think Octopath Traveler is a very important game for the Switch.
I think that's a bubble for me.
Really?
I think it's one that I think the only reason I don't say immediately agree is because there's still a lot of names up here. We just got to, I think, due process. Very well could land in the top 10 because I did like that game a lot.
And can I pitch us to remove Slay the Spire? As much as that game is great, you're
just saying that because I didn't immediately agree with Octopath, aren't you?
Oh, 1,000% accurate. Yes.
No, I mean here's the thing.
Yes.
Slay the Spire, a huge surprise for me last year in my top probably 20 games of all time, maybe potentially. I haven't given it a lot of thought yet. I think of it as a PC game, even though I played it on the Switch and mobile, more so a PC game.
Mm-hmm.
I think of this remaining list, I think at the very least, Persona 5 Royal, gone.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? I'm gonna sacrifice one of my choices.
Oh, finally.
I'm gonna sacrifice Bravely Default 2. As much as I think that game is one of the best games on the Switch, I do think that not that many people actually probably played it. And if you haven't, I highly recommend it. It's a wonderful game. I think that there's a lot to enjoy there if you're an RPG fan, especially classic RPG fan, like old school Final Fantasy. But yeah, no, I just don't think that it got the love that it deserved. And because of that, I do think it falls out of the top 10.
Yeah. A quick aside too, I think it's worth mentioning we haven't talked about Bayonetta, Xenoblade, Fire Emblem, mostly because we aren't fucking nerds. They say as we have a video game podcast. It's a joke, obviously. But just didn't speak to us. We haven't really played them, so that's probably why they're not here. But it's sad to me and it's interesting to me that we didn't once mention the name Cult of the Lamb because I think it has the stuff to be here. But it just if it's broken, it's broken,
Yeah, no, I can't disagree with you in the slightest on that.
I'm just scrolling through and seeing if there's anything that we kind of missed of games that are on my Switch. Then I saw those. That's why I thought of it.
Yeah, and I definitely think that Celeste and Hollow Knight definitely deserve a place. Not sure where, but those are games I definitely think are, I would say for me at least, probably more known for being Switch games.
Yeah, I definitely think of Celeste and Hollow Knight as Switch games.
Absolutely.
For sure. So let's bubble them.
Okay.
I also think, I don't know. I think even though I've only put a little bit of time into Stardew personally, I think Stardew probably deserves a spot in the top 10 because of how big it has become and how important of a game it is for the culture.
Sure.
And even though it's not necessarily a game that I've put a lot of time in, I see how good of a game it is and how much people love it. What do you think?
I think you are 100% correct there. Yeah.
Okay. So that brings us to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 officially in the top 10. And we have these few other ones to go through before we really lock things in. I think Luigi's mentioned 3, maybe a bubble game, but even just saying Yeah, what do we think? What do you think about Luigi's Mansion 3? Nick says it's such an improvement from the 3DS one. Great bosses, gorgeous environments, good for playing with others, good for kids and adults. All true.
It's true. I would say, looking at this list, how many spaces do we have, Patrick? I can't count.
So there are 3 spots up for grabs at the moment, and we got 3 games in the bubble. And there are 5 games to decide whether they belong in the bubble, in the list, or off the list.
So the question is, which Pokemon game are we bringing with us?
So here's my thinking. So we're going to put a pin in Luigi's Mansion 3. Connie and Nick are on my side here in that I think, as Connie says, I think for me, it's Arceus. Nick says, I think, yeah, Arceus, I think got everyone pumped for Scarlet. It was so good. Tony says Arceus as well. It did something different. I think from a game creation standpoint and from a gameplay standpoint, as of today, Violet still all sorts of busted for people. Arceus, there's still some jank, but like it definitely is in a much better place. So like as of today, right now, I think Arceus makes sense. Doesn't mean that Violet or Scarlet don't necessarily deserve it today or maybe in the future. But for me, I would put my vote behind Arceus.
You know, I'm going to defer to the audience on this one.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Arceus. Because of them, they have swayed me, even though I prefer Scarlet. I will trust the people.
I always love that you trust the people.
I do.
It's one of your best features. One of your
some say it's my calves, but
those juicy calves. All right, 3 left in the undecided camp. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. I think we kill it. I liked it a lot, but as we kind of talk through other games, I don't think I would put it above the 3 that we have currently in the bubble. So let's just be honest with ourselves, Cayman, for once. Do you agree?
I'm torn here, Patrick.
I can be swayed.
I think my thing is I struggle with Persona 4 Golden on
I was talking about Mario Rabbids specifically.
No, I know. What I'm saying is that if moving it out of the list and then sticking with keeping with Persona 4 Golden, that's where I have troubles, right?
Well, there's still these 3 in the bubble.
Oh, we still have bubbles.
These are the undecideds.
Yeah, I definitely going to go with, if I had to choose between those 2, I would say Luigi's Mansion 3 over Persona 4 Golden.
Okay. So we'll move that up. We'll put Persona 4 in the potential honorable mentions category. So right now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 officially locked in. And we got 4 left for the final 2 spots.
Okay.
Those 4 are Octopath Traveler, Celeste, Hollow Knight, and Luigi's Mansion 3. This is what my heart tells me, Cayman.
Okay.
My heart of hearts tells me Celeste and Luigi's Mansion 3. However, I have not put in a final decision. That's just what my heart tells me in this moment right now.
Let me tell you what my heart says, Patrick. My heart says Celeste.
Okay.
And Octopath Traveler.
We both say Celeste, so Celeste in the list. Man, am I about to replay Celeste? Such a great game. You know what neither of us said? Hollow Knight.
Sure.
And again, I think it's just because we haven't really played it.
Yeah, Hollow Knight's not really, I don't know. It's not that the game doesn't seem like a game I would have fun with. I don't know. Just never really, I don't know.
Okay, well, just a quick aside, Nick in the chat just played Celeste for the first time and helped me out of a funk. That's the thing. Celeste is magic, man. It is. The story it tells, I think, is so moving, and the gameplay is just so perfect.
Yeah,
I mean, I think I need to replay Celeste. You know what? Also, we didn't mention, Cayman, Crypt of the Necro Dancer.
Yeah, I honestly didn't really enjoy that game.
Really, actually. I loved it.
Yeah,
it was so fun. Kiki got me into that game, actually.
Okay. I see you.
Kiki.
I see you out there.
All right. Octopath Traveler, Luigi's Mansion 3. I think perhaps what we do is turn to the chat.
Let's turn to the chat.
So I already saw Constantina said she's only played Luigi's Mansion 3, so I think she would probably default to Luigi's Mansion 3. I know Nick has played them both. Tony, I'm curious if you've played Octopath. Because here, you know what?
Yeah.
I have a thought. Of the games on the list, there's not a JRPG.
You are absolutely correct.
So I'm kind of leaning Octopath now.
Handsome Tony says the same. I'm just saying.
Let's do Octopath, and I think Luigi's Mansion can lead the honorable mentions camp.
I like that idea. I think that's a solid one.
All right, so now,
oh god,
this part is where 2 is ranking them.
See, this is where shit hits the fan for me because I don't know how to rank them.
I think this is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
We just go from bottom to top and say, would you put it? No, that's not actually going to work. I think we start with the best one and then go from there.
Okay.
Which I think it's safe to assume either Breath of the Wild or Hades is number 1.
I'm sorry, what? Breath of the Wild or Hades? Are you silly, Patrick? Breath of the Wild or Mario Kart 8? Sure.
I would say Mario Kart 8 is either 2 or 3.
Yes, well, that's what I'm saying. I think, like, definitely, like, as much as I wasn't a huge Breath of the Wild fan, but I think, like, that game obviously is the best.
Yeah. Okay. So that's number 1.
Yeah, I would say Breath of the Wild 1 for sure. 100% for sure.
Yeah. Connie and Tony in the chat, they also say Breath of the Wild got to be number 1.
I know. Look, here's the thing. I look, Breath of the Wild for me, like, I don't know, there's something about it. Like, I don't know if it was like the mechanics of the weapons breaking all the time or just, I don't know, it didn't really hit for me. Like I was like balancing both Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey at the same time. Just had more fun with Mario Odyssey.
I think the reason you don't like Breath of the Wild is because there's not a man in it where his face is just covered in like another person's intestines.
Wow, the fact that you would say that, Patrick, is so accurate.
Right?
Yeah.
Connie is melting down in the chat.
Yeah,
you don't like Breath of the Wild.
This is like the time you found out my middle name was Maria, and to that point, fair enough. Also, that's it's either Nicole, Elizabeth, or Marie/Maria. It's fine.
Nick also in the chat. Breath of the Wild 1 is number 1. Every other developer copied them for years, and they still are. That's also a really good point.
Yeah. I definitely am content with that. I would say Mario Kart 8 comes in at number 2 for me. I think that game is just has the
Liz
most
also
legs of
Liz
any game.
she a few minutes ago agreed with you that Hades should be under Mario Kart 3. So I'll defer to y'all for this. I think Hades is such a special game, but I mean, fucking, I love Mario Kart. I still play it, and it came out like 29 years ago at this point. Okay, so number 1, number 2, Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8. So obviously, if I made a case for Hades at number 1, I think it makes sense for it to be number 3.
I'm content with that.
Would you agree?
I'm content with letting you have this. Yeah.
Well, what would you say is number 3?
I would probably go with Odyssey, but okay. I'm fine with Hades because I would say if Hades is number 3, Odyssey is number 4.
I would agree with that. Odyssey is definitely a top 5, I think. You know what's weird about Odyssey though, but I don't hold this against it. It's like one of the only Mario games I really have trouble playing again. I've tried replaying it a lot, but it just for some reason I can't get into it again.
This is an interesting point that Connie makes. She says, I liked Hades a lot, but I was pretty pissed they didn't offer it in Greek.
Malaka.
Which is that is actually, I didn't know that, but that's actually very interesting that the game literally is like all about Greek mythology and there's no like Greek language first.
Yeah, that actually is kind of shocking.
Fucking weird to me.
That is kind of shocking.
Like the one thing I would be like, if you include any other language, that might be the one I would say probably do.
Yeah. Bastards. Okay, so now we got Stardew, we got Animal Crossing, Pokemon Arceus, Celeste, and Octopath. I kind of feel like in a way this list is already kind of in order for me. I think I would put New Horizons next after Odyssey.
I would 100%, yeah.
And then I might put Celeste after Animal Crossing.
I'm fine with that. Yeah.
And then, so the top 6 now would be Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Hades, Odyssey, Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Celeste.
So we have a lot of chatter.
It's popping off.
We got a lot of chatter in the chat about how Smash should not be number 10.
Interesting. Okay.
So
yeah, and then Liz, not Stardew over Animal Crossing New Horizons, Celeste over both. So that's kind of where my bias comes in, I think, with Animal Crossing, since I haven't really played a lot of Stardew, and I just loved New Horizons. But if the chat agrees, then the chat agrees. If the chat can get behind this idea that Animal Crossing needs to be lower, I can get behind that. And so maybe here's the thing. I personally, because of my bias against Smash, I don't think Smash can go above 7th.
I'm content with that, with it being 7.
We can lock it in at 7th.
And I'm going to piss off a lot of people when I say this, but I think Octopath Traveler shouldn't be lower than 8. I think 8 is a solid place for me personally with Octopath, but that's just what I'm feeling. And if you guys don't like it, then fine, then we put it lower, because I'm not going to argue with you.
I think Cayman, the best I can do for Octopath is 9.
Really?
I think. Because I really liked Octopath. I mean, for it to be number 9, I think it tells how good it is.
I mean, okay, fair, but also I think that Nick has a great point where he says Octopath helped move RPG forward again on Switch, and I can't disagree. It honestly, I would say that Octopath Traveler has kind of ushered in a resurgence of like the old school JRPGs that we're getting a lot of now, and I think that that's, like, wherever we put it, I think that that's a totally fine place to have. At least it's in the top 10. It deserves to be in the top 10. I'm content.
So Liz makes a good point about Stardew. She says, for me, Animal Crossing New Horizons has a definitive ceiling, whereas Stardew is much more intricate, which is objectively true. Like using Rose and Sid as an example, like they both put so much time into that.
True.
And like the amount of times that we've tried to go back to Animal Crossing, and like once it's done, it's kind of done. Like once you've hit the ceiling, it's kind of gone. So that makes sense. And yeah, Connie, I'm so sorry. I love ACNH, but I do not think it should be number 5. Hey, the people have spoken, and it's now gone down. So with this in mind, then, Cayman,
yes,
if Animal Crossing is now this far down, and Smash is now at number 7, and we have Pokemon Arceus and Octopath Traveler left, I am willing in this moment, even though I just said I think the best Octopath can do is 8 or is 9, I'm willing to put it at number 8, Animal Crossing at 9, Pokemon Arceus at 10.
Okay, then if that's the case, then I will accept its fate at number 9 and Arceus is number 10.
So 8 for Animal Crossing?
Yes.
Okay.
I think like we have to give it credit for what it is. It lasted an entire year. And like not many games can say that. And sure, now we're at a point where like, yeah, we've all kind of grown. But you can't tell me that if they weren't to announce a brand new Animal Crossing game that we all wouldn't lose our goddamn minds.
Oh, for sure. We would lose our
I think
minds.
That's what we need to take into consideration on like how important that game is too. So I'm fine with Animal Crossing being at 8. And I'm fine with Octopath coming in at 9 at that point. But it's okay. Look, I think that this list is a very good list.
I think
please do not make me try to list out the rest of them because I don't know if my brain
no. I did a little bit of moving around just now, but it's not definitive. But so this is the definitive list. Breath of the Wild, the number 1 game on Nintendo Switch. Number 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Number 3, Hades. Number 4, Mario Odyssey. Number 5, Stardew Valley. Number 6, Celeste. Number 7, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Number 8, Animal Crossing New Horizons. Number 9, Octopath Traveler. And coming in at number 10, Pokemon Legends Arceus. I think it's a fantastic list personally.
I agree.
There are a couple games in the bubble, in the honorable mentions. Luigi's Mansion 3, Persona 4 Golden, Scarlet and Violet. Some of these games I might consider subbing in at number 10, but Pokemon needs to be on there. So we're gonna lock this in. But I think, I mean, for some of these games to be on the bubble, tells a story, Cayman, that the Switch is pretty fucking good.
I think it tells a story. I do agree.
Well,
I concur.
We did it. The definitive top 10 list for Switch. If you're listening to this later or watching on YouTube, let us know what you think we got wrong. What games deserve to be on this top 10 list? Because, I'm sure you have fucking ideas that you think are better than ours.
So I mean, they probably do, honestly.
Tell them to us. All right. And Cayman, I'm shocked to say, but I think that's our show.
I think this is how it ends, right?
I think this is how it ends. We do have one thing to update on the 2023 calendar, and then we're going to sign off. And then before we sign off, if you have watched the most recent episode of The Last of Us and have played the games, we are going to do game spoilers. Little 5-minute Last of Us corner about what we think might come in the next episode, and just general other thoughts so far that could potentially be spoilery. So we'll be clear when that happens. But for now, I do want to mention a cool release is on the horizon. MLB The Show. It was announced today, as of recording, that they are bringing a new game mode to the next MLB title coming March 28th called Storylines: The Negro Leagues. It's an interactive narrative experience narrated by the president of the Negro Leagues Museum, in which you play as 8 different players and learn about their life and impact in the league. I think that's pretty fucking cool.
Honestly, when I read that, I was like, that's fucking amazing.
Isn't that really cool?
And announcing it during Black History Month, I think is really apropos. I think that that's really fucking cool. And honestly, it's a little, I think we probably should have had this sooner, guys.
Probably. It was going to be.
Hey, you know what? If we get it now, we get it now. But I think that that's amazing.
Yeah, I feel like this probably is something that they should have done sooner too, but the fact that we're getting it now is awesome. Yeah. And it could very well be a reason that I pick up the show this year, because don't typically like baseball games, but because it's always the same. Like, that's the thing with sports games. If you played one, you played them all, essentially, in that franchise. And I just accidentally muted myself with my hands. But yeah, this is really cool. So shout out to them, coming March 28th. If you go to the MLB's Twitter or PlayStation's Twitter, like they're sharing this trailer. So go check that out, because the trailer, it's like 4 minutes, and it's actually kind of like history driven as well. Kind of hearing them talk about it. So it's really cool. Go check it out. But that is the last part of our show. So let's sign us off. Thank you again for being here, especially for those of you that are in the chat. I thought this was a really fun conversation. I want to do this again. I want to do make our own list with the chat again, because I had a lot of fun doing that. But if you're listening later, make sure you follow us on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpotlightGameSpot, so that you're notified live for future episodes when we do things like this, so you can be a part of it in the chat and help us make the definitive list of whatever the list is going to be. You can follow the pod on Twitter at SpotGamesPod. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at SpotlightGamesPod. We haven't posted a TikTok in probably 10 years, but one of these days we will. I promise you. Sister podcast, Spotlight TV. You can follow on Instagram and Twitter at Spotlight TV Pod, and you can follow Save Trash Cinema at Save Trash Cinema on all socials if you want. You can follow me at Patrick Schwag. You can follow Cayman at Kid Cayman. There are places you can follow us, but definitely also, if you haven't, we would love it if you would go over to our YouTube and subscribe there. Because we have now started, we've mentioned it a few times, but I'm breaking out the topics into their own videos on YouTube. I'm having fun doing it, and I think people are the YouTube audience is liking it more that way. So if that's something that you enjoy, head over to our YouTube for that. Cayman, what do you say? We say goodbye to the people who have not watched The Last of Us and played the games, and do a little spoilery combo to close us out. Final warning, Last of Us spoilers. If you haven't played the games, get out of here. And if you have, we got about 5 minutes for you. Cayman, I have concerns.
Yes.
After this last episode, I've been very pleased so far with this season. I think it's been better than I ever could have imagined it to be. But when I think about, so we've gotten 4 episodes. We have 5 left. There's a lot of story left.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it this way. It's safe to assume the rest of this next episode is the rest of Kansas City with Sam and Henry, Kathleen, all that stuff. I think it's safe to assume that arc ends next episode, which leaves us with the university.
Yep.
It leaves us with David and the Lake House Resort. It leaves us with Left Behind.
Yeah.
It leaves us with like the bus depot leading into the finale, and then the finale. That is the Salt Lake City. No, never mind. No. Sorry, I got confused myself there. But like that's a lot for 5 episodes.
You are
because
correct.
I think it's also safe to assume. Could be wrong, but I think it's safe to assume Left Behind gets its own episode, like episode 3, where like the whole thing is basically just the story of Left Behind. What do you think? Like, are they? Oh, I actually did forget something. Tommy's Dam, the whole Tommy's situation.
Yeah.
That's a lot that came in.
Yeah.
You're
not
think
wrong?
Like, do you think of those? So Tommy's Dam, the university, the David section, the bus depot, and the finale. Obviously, the finale is going to be there. Obviously, the David stuff's going to be there because we've seen that in the trailers. What we've not seen is Tommy's Dam, the university, and the bus depot. And for clarification, the bus depot is that like chapter leading into the final chapter with the hospital. So I don't know. Tony says university's got to be there. I don't know that I agree. On paper, I think it does. That's where like Joel gets hurt.
I think, okay, so hear me out. I think that you could potentially do the university is like the end of an episode, and it ends on a cliffhanger of Joel falling and getting impaled. That whole sequence happens. I think that could be the end. I don't think the university sequence needs to be too long. Sure. I think the bus depot could also be shortened a good bit. I think that you can probably trim some fat on the dam section because a lot of the dam section, honestly, is a lot of action focus. Like, hey, you need to go do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. So I think if they more focus on the Tommy aspect of it, you can trim some fat there. But I don't disagree. There is a little bit of a worry there. That's like, are we going to rush into the finale, especially knowing the finale is like 45 minutes long?
Yeah, it's 43 minutes long.
Which seems ludicrous.
And so I think it's probably safe to assume that the finale is just the hospital. Like there's nothing else other than that.
I agree.
And then like the epilogue, but the epilogue even in the game is like 10 minutes long.
So I think the thing is too is like you could in theory do Left Behind as like a cold open, and that kind of sucks. I do feel like you suck some of the life out of that. My question is because Henry and Sam are listed in the cast for episode 6. I don't know if that's just like if that's like a throw to like try to keep people off the scent of what's going to happen at the end of episode 5. I don't know if they're going to like how that plays out. So
I wonder if it's like with episode 6, if there's like little flashback stuff to what just happened or something, because I mean, I don't know. Yeah, maybe the Kansas City arc takes a little bit more than one more episode to finish. With how they've been kind of cutting things, like it seems like the end of episodes is either the halfway point of a story, like end of episode 1, end of episode 2, or the end of a story, like the end of episode 3. Because episode 4, it's like it's just the first half of this story, or at least if it's more than another half, that's more. But I also have a theory that the Tommy's Dam won't be the dam. I wonder if we're just going to see like Jackson, like a baby version of what we then see in part 2 with this, massive community. I wonder if it's just like, because in the game, like the whole idea is you're at the dam because the city has lost power or like their little village has lost power. You just don't see it. So I wouldn't be surprised if instead of it being the dam, it's just because also I feel like we're going to get a lot more Tommy in the season, and I don't think we're just going to get half an episode with Tommy. But next episode, to keep it kind of more on topic with the next specific episode, I feel like we're definitely going to get, maybe not definitely. I have a suspicion we're going to get a cold open and get like a little bit of Ish. So if you don't remember Ish being when you go in the sewers with Sam and Henry, all the notes that are left around, the paintings because we see a little bit of the sewers in the preview. I think it'd be pretty cool to actually see Ish and like a little bit of that story in action.
So here's my question though: is which do you think is more impactful for the story as it is currently? Us getting Ish in the sewers, that's our cold open, or getting a cold open that shows why Kathleen is hunting down Henry and Sam?
That probably makes more sense for the story that we're being told.
We do know we're going to get something related to Ish because there is scenes of them in a sewer with them with like you see the kids' artwork, and you definitely
Yeah.
can tell that's not Sam's artwork.
Right. And it
So,
might just
like,
be that. Maybe that's all we
yeah.
get.
And so like, what, like, how is that going to play out? What is that going to sound like? I do feel like that's a missed opportunity. Now where we are in the story, I am kind of like, damn, I mean, obviously we'd love to have more content, but like, it almost feels like this definitely maybe should have been 10 episodes. But then again,
Yeah.
I also turn around and I look at something like Chernobyl and I'm like, it was like what, 5 episodes? I'm like, I could have definitely gone with like
Sure.
100 more episodes.
It's
Chernobyl.
funny.
That game is so fucking good.
I was just talking to someone the other day. I forget who, but they were playing the game and didn't know that the first season is only the first game, and like, or rather that it's the entirety of the first game. And so like, oh yeah, I mean, there's no way that they're gonna fit all of it into one season. I was like, oh well, actually, they've already said they are, because yeah, I feel like 9 episodes might not be enough. But I mean, they've basically knocked that out of the park so far. But I don't know. I'm a little concerned. But
No, I agree. I mean,
Well,
and rightfully so. I think that the best thing we could do is temper our expectations and hope
Yeah.
that they are blown out of the water, but we keep them realistic.
Yeah. Well, Cayman,
Yes, sir.
only way to find out is to watch the episode, which is actually coming out Friday this week.
Absolutely. It's gonna be
so
a busy goddamn week, Patrick.
It's going to be a busy goddamn week, I tell you what. But Cayman, that's it for now. Thank you for coming along on this ride. It was a bit of a
Always.
long one, but it was a good one, I think.
Had a great time.
Until we meet again.